Hey everyone, my name is Amos for amosyomusic.com, and in this video I'm going to show you how I'm using this plugin called Auto Align to correct the phase of multi-mic instruments in a mix. So this song is called Sing My Way, courtesy from the artist Gale and themixacademy.com. So in this example I'm using a drum kit, but you can pretty much go ahead and use it for multi-mic acoustic guitars, multi-mic pianos, and so on and so forth. So the reason why I chose drums to do it is because it's the most prominent and it will be able to, it's where I use this plugin Auto Align probably 9 times out of 10 before I begin a mix. So I'm just going to show you how I'm using it. So over here you can see I've actually went ahead and imported the session in Pro Tools, and I've done nothing crazy except color coding it. So all of my drums are going to be in this light blue color. So you see I have kick in, kick out, kick sub, 2 snare top mics, snare 1, snare 2, snare bottom, tom 1, tom 2, heads, overhead heads, meaning that the overhead mic is placed nearer towards the hi-hat, and overhead right is towards the right cymbal. So this is a good way to include where the position of the mic is, as opposed to putting overhead left and right, because that could mean different things for different engineers. Either it could be from the drummer's perspective or from the mix perspective. So it's a good way to just differentiate it, so that if you are mixing it further down the line, or you're sending this session for another mixer to mix, he will be able to know where the mics are being placed. So overhead heads, overhead right, and I have 3 room mics, room center, room heads, room right, and a hall mic as well. So I'm just going to play a little bit. I've actually brought down the music tracks here in blue. I brought down a tad so that you can just focus in on the drum kit today. So just going to play a snippet of it, and then we'll go from there. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is that upon hearing it, even with the music tracks brought down, I feel that the drum kit is a little bit distant. And this is just based on mixing for quite a while, and using this plugin Auto Align back and forth to the point that you kind of hear the difference. So this is why I'm actually trying to show you how I'm actually going to use this plugin to actually correct the phase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually listen. I've actually also done basic panning. I've just pushed tom 1, tom 2 out a little bit. I keep the heads straight in the center. The overhead heads and overhead right, I just pan them accordingly. And I brought down the room mics for a little bit. So this is just the closed mics without the room. And then if I were to just solo one of the elements, let's say for example the overhead right, you're going to hear the snare, you're going to hear a little bit of the kick drum, a little bit of the hi-hats as well. So it's coming out on the right, and if I were to do it on the left, and then if I were to solo the rooms, in this case, let me just group everything together. So the room mics act as a way to capture depth and to capture the size of the kit as well. So one thing about having room mics to your advantage is that you can actually make the kit larger than life, depending on how the room mics actually sound and how you're actually blending them in the mix. That being said, let's dive right into this plugin called Auto Align. So this company out there, Sound Radix, great guys, make great plugins. They came out with this one called Auto Align. So basically what Auto Align does is that it's going to listen to a reference signal that you have included in the send, and you're going to place Auto Align on the rest of the other microphones that you want it to reference to. In this case, I've actually used the overhead heads to be the send. I know of guys who actually go ahead and use the snare drum to be the point of reference. So whatever rocks your boat. So for me, I'm just going to use the overhead heads because I feel that the overhead mics are going to be capturing the rest of the drum kit as closely as possible because they are actually looking down towards the drum kit. So I'm just going to reference all of my individual close mics, my snare, my toms, my kick, my hi-hat to the overhead mics. So you may also think of it as while you're recording, you would also take either a long mic lead and then measure the distance from the snare to the nearest overhead and make sure that that's equidistant to the next one. So that way when the drummer hits the snare, the sound of the snare drum is going to propagate in 3 dimensions. So if they are not equidistant to one another, one microphone is going to pick up later than the other. So that's something to take note of as well. So over here, I'm just going to set it up. Let me just solo the drum kit. And then on overhead heads, I'm going to hit send 1. So in auto align, you can have 9 sends. So you can use auto align for 9 different references as well. In this case, I'm only just going to use 1 because I'm going to manipulate 1 drum kit. So I'm going to have send 1 on overhead heads, which is what all of the rest of the drum kit is going to reference to. And then I'm going to change this to delay and polarity. So what this does is that the rest of the mics are going to listen to the reference, and then they're going to match up not only just in phase, but they're also going to match up in samples. So it's not going to just flip 180 degrees whether it's out or in, but it's also going to shift in time according to that. So I'm going to show you in a bit what it actually means. So I'm just going to copy the plugin down, and now I'm going to change this to receive. So let me take out send and receive on 1 because that's the channel that we're looking at. And now that everything is all the way that I like it, I'm just going to copy it to my kick and the rest of the drum kit. And I'm going to loop a section and just hit detect and just let it play. So right now it's actually the kicking mic is actually listening and referencing the kick signal to the overheads, and it has actually shifted the kick mic by 16 samples forward in time from where it originally was. So that way it's going to line up accordingly to the overhead heads that we have actually used as reference. In this case, it has also flipped the phase. As you can see, the phase align button is switched down. So I'm going to go on, kick out, do the same thing, just hit that, detect, and play. Alright, that's done. Sometimes it takes a while, so let's do it again. Kicks up. Alright, now you can hear a huge difference for that. We're going to come back and listen to that again in a second. So now let's move on to the snare top. Then again, you can hear quite a bit of a difference. Let's move on. It's all coming together. Alright, snare bottom. Alright, tom 1. So tom 2, I'm just going to move out to a section. So we are going to skip overhead heads because that's the microphone that we're referencing from. And we'll move on to overhead right. Alright, cool. So now I'm going to play it with the plugin on, and I'm going to bypass it altogether. If Pro Tools users, what you all can do is that by holding down, if you have all of the tracks selected, you can hold down Shift A, and that basically toggles off your plugins on and off. So it's a good way for you to A/B the before and after. So I'm going to just play with auto align on, and then I'm going to play without, and we'll go from there. So this is with. So without. With. Without. with. Alright, night and day. So basically what happens is that it is actually aligning every single drum kit to the overhead heads. And by doing so, you could see that certain microphones are actually flipped and pushed in time as well, either ahead or behind. So it's really, really cool. So what I like to do after I've actually auto-aligned all of them is to hear them in context with the song. So I'm just gonna play in the song and just hear how it is like, and then from there we will bounce them out. So let's hear with the song. Without. With. Without. With. Alright, so you can actually hear the snare actually coming forward. You can hear the kick coming forward as well. The rest of the microphones, they seem present in front of you. You also hear a low end increase in the snare drum. So that means that the snare drum was out of phase before. So now auto align has actually gone ahead and actually corrected the phase, actually shifted in time, which is cool. So now I'm ready to begin mixing, but before I actually begin, I'm actually going to bounce it out. I'm going to commit to the processing that auto align has already done so that I can save up CPU resources. And there's a high chance that I wouldn't look back unless I really want to change something else. In Pro Tools, I'm going to bus them all individually. So I hold down Shift, Option, Command, and click on the output, find a mono bus, and then it's going to cascade all of them accordingly. So 24, 25, 26, all the way down to where I've ended as well. And then I'm going to select everything, right click on bus 24, bounce bus 24, and I'm going to label this kick in. Let's call it AA, bracket AA2. So very important, import after bounce, and I always like to have offline check. Once all that's good, hit bounce, shouldn't take too long. It's going to bring up this dialog box, destination new track, correct. Hit OK. And there you go. So now this signal is exactly the same as the one before with auto align on. So we have that, and I'm just going to pull open the mics that I've actually gone ahead and auto align. So now that I'm happy with it, I'm going to just hide and make inactive the pre-auto align tracks so that I can actually record them further down the line when I need to. And there you go. So now I have these tracks that I've been properly in phase, labeled the way I want to, and I can go ahead and begin mixing the song. So I hope that helps. Shout out to Sound Radix again for doing such a great job in creating this plugin. What a time saver it has been on my mixers. So to the next time we see each other again. See ya.